What do you think it really takes to be a good product designer? Where can a junior start? What do you think?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I just want to say that I also want to add on, Stella, that this is why all portfolios can't look the same, why everything can't be unified within the industry, because companies are focusing on so many different problems, right? And they have like specific needs that they want. So I think there's going to be a couple of things that I'm going to say, and hopefully people will, still take it with a grain of salt, but still, practice this because this is super important. I think first and foremost, know the kind of industries that you want to work in, because once again, the problems that Instagram is solving is different from Salesforce, right? And I would say even different from Disney Plus, to be honest. And we have a lot of teams, and our team for Disney Plus is relatively new. So really understand the kind of industries and companies you want to work for and the kind of problems you want to work for. Because for example, to work at Instagram, you have to have a high level of craft and you have to be really great at product thinking, right? And then at a company like Atlassian, you have to demonstrate that you can think through complex systems and flows and all of that, and understand like the B2B side and kind of work in a vague sense of manner, right? Since it is B2B, and not know what product teams and businesses want that use that particular app. So I would say that is first and foremost, know the kind of company you're applying. Two, really understand like managers and people's problems that they're having as well, because I think if you really connect with the manager and find out what they value as well, that will really get you a leg up with the industry, because companies are not hiring product designers for your career. They're
Yeah,
hiring products because they want to do something with their product,
for their
right? They
business
want to make
needs.
it grow. Yeah, they want to
Mhm.
make it better for business reasons.
Yeah.
And you have to, I'm not going to say it's, sometimes it's impossible to know that, but still just really paying attention to the market. Like, so for example, Google, they're trying to compete against TikTok. A lot of people
Mhm.
don't even know that. And when you think about it on the surface level, it sounds silly, but TikTok is one of the most viewed websites in the world,
Yep.
period. And it's
Mhm.
the highest, and they keep beating Google. So now Google is trying to make their search algorithm even better. So when you
Right.
go into Google, and let's say even if you interview for Google Shop, now you kind of understand their needs, right? Because
Mhm.
Google Shop is everything is integrated through the Google search algorithm, and it's,
Yeah.
I mean, Google search. So really understand the needs of the company and understand the value, what managers really value. And then I would say three, really start to get nuance and what roles. So I'm not saying just like UX architecture or even like growth design or something, but find out what you really like. Oh, I love running A/B testing experiments. I love thinking like really high level. Okay, maybe I need to go into growth design. Oh, I love coding as well. I'm really into it, but I still want to be a UX designer. Okay, maybe I do need to work on internal tools at a company like Instagram, or I need to go to GitHub or Datadog or one of those companies, right? Or like DigitalOcean. Or, okay, maybe I really love accessibility. Maybe I really love people not getting harmed. So I want to look into accessibility roles or even join a health team at one of these companies, right? And being able to speak up for people. Oh, I love managing people, but I really don't like designing much. But I love, going out there and getting something. I love thinking through problems of like stakeholder management and people management and all that. And I love to keep things running. I also have an affinity for like project management and all this stuff. So look into design ops and all these other different things. So once you start to figure out what you love doing and what really works for you, then do it. And I know a lot of people, Stella, and I'm pretty sure you met people like this. I don't know what company I want to work at, or I don't know what kind of role I want to do. I just want to go out there and do something and figure out what I like. It's like, no, there's plenty of stuff that you love doing every day. Figure it out. It's not that hard. There's plenty of devices and tools that you
Yeah.
love doing. I mean, you love using every day. And it doesn't have to be, and you said this, it doesn't have to be a digital product. It could be a product, because sometimes problem solving, and I want everyone to know this, because this is what Dylan, my manager, my
Yeah.
old manager that you
Yeah.
interviewed, we
We
still stay in
talked.
touch. And he told me that, Kerry, sometimes problem solving has nothing to do with design. And he's definitely right. So figure out what kind of problems you want to solve, what kind of spaces you want to be in. And trust me, you will be so much better off.
Wow, that was really good. And I just want to add a few things to what you talked about, because you said, okay, find out what problems the hiring manager or the company is trying to solve at this very moment. And obviously, they're not going to put it exactly out there in the job descriptions, and they're not going to write it all over their face, right? So from my personal experience, if you're entry level folks or just anyone who's trying to get in, there are a few ways that you can at least get some information out there. One is, interviews are a two-way conversation, right? I know not everyone is very comfortable, kind of leading the conversation, but if you just remind yourself to also ask a few questions that actually early on, because nobody is prohibiting you to ask questions, like until you're allowed to, because you can actually weave it into the conversation early and naturally and say that, hey, I was wondering X, Y, and Z, right? Without being really kind of, I would say like super specific about it, you can get some frustrations out of what they're trying to do. So that's number one. You can actually solicit those information discreetly, right? If you are smart about asking questions. And second, I know some people are probably more comfortable of doing so, but if you're not comfortable, you should probably, try to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, try it. Doesn't really hurt. Because before the job interview, you can, in fact, try to reach out to employees at that company who are on LinkedIn, who may not be a VP, who may be like a lower level person, and they might have a little bit more time, or just like a little bit more receptive to questions from a stranger, and then you can ask them, right? You can be like, hey, I'm actually really interested in your company and I'm trying to join. It would be great if I could learn from your experience, right? Like something like that. Then you can get those insider info pretty much for free, and then you have a huge leg up against a lot of other people. I just want to add that.
Definitely. I think and I want to let everyone know this, that when it comes to like product design roles, the main thing that the manager is trying to fill out as soon as you get on the call is, can you do the job? Can
Yeah.
you have the responsibility of this job? Do you have like the necessary fundamental and technical skills in order to do this, right? So do you have, like, depending on what they're looking for and what they're assessing for, like visual craft, collaboration skills, right? Skills to work with difficult people as well, in a
Mhm.
sense. How do you work with developers? How do you work with PM? Those kind of things too, of what they're looking for first and foremost, before anything, before you even talk about the industry. And I would even say that even companies like Twitch and Instagram, and even like Disney as well, even though Disney is different, I think they're a really great culture, really great team, really great company. So they do talk about like art during the interviews and all that other kind of stuff. But I'm pretty sure, like, well, matter of fact, I'm not pretty sure, I know for a fact that a lot of these other companies is more kind of rigid and straightforward with, can you do the job, with the bulk of the conversation. Like, they don't care if you know anything about the company because they are well known.
Right.
This is what, like, a lot of the conversations revolve around. Now, startups and mid-level companies that aren't that well known, it is, oh, do you know more about our company, kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's all about you showing that you actually cared. I can't remember how many times I've had a conversation with someone. I asked them, did you look at the website? And they said no. I mean, it actually still happens every day. They came to the conversation without even looking at what they're talking about. I understand there is a huge level of fatigue out there, right? When you're looking for jobs, you're, sending, I don't know, 25 to 50 resumes a day. And that's really demoralizing in a way. But, instead of playing the numbers game, which could still be effective in certain ways, but instead of playing, spending all of your energy playing the numbers game, why don't you narrow down on a few companies that you really are actually interested in, and then try your best to kind of show your interest at an extra level, because most of the time 99% of your competition, they're not doing that. So just
Yeah.
by doing it, you already have that advantage. And then the second point that you were talking about was, I think, it's definitely daunting for entry level folks to narrow down or find out the specific things that interest them, because they just know that, oh, yeah, this industry sounds really promising because one, it's flexible, entry barrier is low. You don't need to get a doctorate, or like a master's degree to get in. And then it does pay well, right? And then it seems like there's so many perks of working there and it's fun. Yes, those are all the perks. But if you think like that, then most other people think like that when they try to get in. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to go beyond that. You need to be like, okay, I know I'm certainly interested, but then I need to now position my interest in a way that isn't um, generalized, so to speak. Do you have something to add to it?
Yeah. So it's this thing with a lot of entry level people, but once again, I really and I want to point this out in a lot of my calls that I know a lot of people make it seem like this is an entry level problem, but it's not. I think it's an all product designer problem because there's like people that have 10 years of experience that can't interview at all. There's
Yeah.
people who are not self aware, right? That probably work somewhere in like Iowa or they stayed at a company for 6 years and they're
Ouch.
complacent and they want more money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think what people need to understand is why is product design or user experience paying a lot? Like they're not paying a lot for a role that takes little to no effort. That's not how basic economics work,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And even if they are paying a lot, so like let's say even if a company is paying like 300 to 400K, because I know that Instacart pays their senior product designers 400K and probably even
Wow.
up.
Very
Yeah.
impressive.
I mean, it's in San Francisco. They have to be competitive,
That's true.
they have to. So but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, they're paying you that much, but they're gonna get their entire money's worth and then
Mhm.
some. And a lot of people really need to understand that. So, for example, when I was working at Inspire Brands, and I'm open about salary, and I think everyone should be open so folks won't be getting lowballed and they know what's out there. I was making 106K in Atlanta, Georgia, and when I was working on this one project, it was estimated to bring in 12 to 19 million dollars. So the
Ooh,
106K that I was
that's
making, it's
nothing.
a drop in a bucket.
Right, exactly.
Even once again, all these product designers at all these different companies that's making a lot of money, especially at all these like popular tech companies. I'm not going to say fame because I know that you dislike it, but once
Yeah.
again, they're making that money for a particular reason. And once again, it's a drop in the bucket for those organizations because these tech companies are making billions,
Oh, yeah,
billions, a
easily.
lot of
Mhm.
money. And at the end of the day, and I agree, Stella, you hit the nail on the head, is that you do have to show people that you're self-aware and you care about the business needs. And one more thing I want to say is that this guy said this on LinkedIn. He says that we often have like the privilege of reporting to a manager that empathizes with the constraints and the little bitty details, right, on the job, but they're always reporting to someone else that cares nothing, little to nothing about that.
Mhm.
And if as a individual contributor, make yourself seen as someone who is really in tune with the business, who can really understand how to talk from a strategic level as well, show that you're a really good business partner and just not a coworker, then it'll really go a long way to making yourself valuable in the market of design, period. Because once again, with all these different roles, it's not just designing for users that I named for Instagram, right? It's that
Mhm.
people are thinking strategically about all this stuff, and you have to think strategically in these problem spaces because it's not as just simple, oh, we need to create empathy maps and all this other kind
Right.
of stuff. It's like, no, what's going on in the market? What's going on with our competitors? What's going on with our team? How does this team's vision align with the overall company and system structure? How do we think about it from constraints, right, with
Yeah.
developers? How do we think about it from roadmaps of fitting in with PMs as well? How do we think about all this? And if you can think about all this, and I promise anyone that's listening to this call, you can really excel in your career. Because if you want to know how I got to like Disney Plus and how companies like Meta, LinkedIn, and Google reached out to me this year, it was because of that and displaying those kind of skills.
I'm not surprised at all because your level of strategic thinking and also your breadth of knowledge, even though you haven't been in this world for that long, right? It's extremely impressive, and frankly, a lot more folks can achieve this level if they pay attention early on. And I really thank you, Kerry, for sharing your knowledge again and again with this community because I think we have a lot of we have a lot of noise out there that juniors are very confused about and they're inundated in it. And also, we do have a lot of, I would say, entry level content that is just resting on the surface. And that's the point of this show is to go beyond the surface. So it's both for entry level folks and for folks who are perhaps, a few years in who are trying to, get a deeper understanding. into this world. But it seems like you have something bursting.
I do. So I have something that I want to say, because I know a lot of people still are probably going to reach out to you and say, how do I learn strategy? How do I learn product things? Just like they did in my my first interview that I ever had with you, right? And folks was in the comment section, which they should, right? Ask questions. So I will say this. There's a lot of different books, and I'm going to send them to Stella so she can have them under the video or in the description, wherever she
We
posts them.
will, for
And some
sure.
really great resources. But I will say this, just don't read at all. I will say go to Y Combinator after you feel like you have a breadth of skills. Reach out to all these different startups and start working from them and jumping from startup to startup. And at first I found that advice kind of weird, because I've heard people, like, I even talked to product designers that work at Netflix, even a new grad. She works at Disney Plus, and she has really good product thinking skills. And she was just telling me that when she was in college, she worked with like multiple startups. And it does make sense, because I worked at Inspire Brands, even though it was a large company, it still ran like a startup on a product team. And then Store is a startup too. But I think just working in startups, you really get exposed to a lot of those things, and you really start to get that experience. So that's the advice that I want to give to people, because I know there's going to be some people, Stella, that's going to be coming to you saying, well, how do we learn this stuff? Where can we get it from? Right. And I went to senior product designers and asked them how I learned it, and they just told me experience and all that. And I know that doesn't sound right. And yes, it is bullshit when people just say experience, because in my opinion, there's a baseline for everything. And I'll stop right there.
No, yeah, absolutely. I love that you added this in, because I was about to bring something up similar, because you know, how you kind of acquire this type of skill is probably not through textbooks per se, right? You can read all the books in the world that you can find. I mean, there are plenty of books out there, but I always advise design students, especially, don't start by reading books and think that you can stop there. Start by doing, and that's how you learn. And are you missing another point?
Yeah, one more point. There's some really great people that you can follow on LinkedIn. It's on the PM and on the product design side. There's this guy named Juan Ramirez. He's a staff product designer at Netflix. Super smart. He does internal tools. That's how I found out about internal tools.
We'll link it.
Once again, all of that will be there, and Stella, I'll provide like the people to follow on LinkedIn as well.
We thank you so much. So yeah, thank you so much, Kerry, for today. I think we've gotten a lot of value out of you, and especially that, I don't know if it's like 5 to 10 minute sort of nonstop, it's almost like lyrics that you kind of sang out in one go. I think it's going to be a really kind of like, you know, a benchmark for people to look at when they prepare for interviews. So thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. The next episodes will have something even more interesting and more exciting with Kerry as usual, and stay tuned.